Super excited today to have Paul on. One of the things when, when I was wholesaling and doing, hundreds of deals a year, and I was just talking to Paul about this. We had just literally tens of thousands of leads left in our CRM that were completely untouched, right? And we spent so much time and so much energy doing, marketing and then the acquisitions and all this stuff that there's this just plethora of just lost leads that sort of just get left behind, right? It's literally like, you know, gold coins left on the beach. And we all have heard this that, all the money's really in the follow-up. And that's something that Paul really has been able to come in and kind of fill that gap for real estate investors at, just at a very, very high level at a, super, super reasonable price. And he's going to talk to us about that today. But not only that, I mean, he's worked for like investor or worked for Carrot. I always want to say investor Carrot, but he's a, amazing copywriter. And I'm sure he's going to talk about his background and some of that stuff. So definitely wanted to get him on and bring him into our community and just let him share some stuff, and hopefully it'll help all of us improve our businesses. So, well, welcome in. I appreciate you coming on today. But the floor is yours.
Awesome. Well, appreciate the awesome intro, David. So with that, I do have a slide deck that kind of shows you guys basically my system in a three-part way that we help improve people's deal conversion. That's what we're talking about at the end of the day is improving deals with the leads that you already have. Not necessarily lead gen. Everybody's going after lead gen, but I'm here to help everybody create a system, automated system that converts what you already have. So I'm going to share my screen here so you all can see this, and hopefully you guys can all see this. So title of it, I chose this little image because I'm an 80s baby, so yeah, I'm Super Nintendo and all that stuff. So how to find extra money in your database, automated follow-up strategies to pull more deals from your CRM, and that's at the end of the day, that's what I do. So a little bit of my background, that's where I live. We kind of touched base about it. I live in Coeur d'Alene. That's the lake. I don't live there exactly, like, that's not my backyard.
That's not your back porch.
That's not my back porch. That's Tubbs Hill, which is about 10 minutes from my house. And yeah, we just moved there. Love it out here. But a little bit about my background. So these are like some lists of the companies I'm currently working with or have done some stuff in the past with it. I started wholesaling like everybody here, and but I also transitioned into actually being a copywriter, and kind of went full bore with it and became full-time with it and started working within the real estate niche. So helping companies that help real estate investors, but also helping investors. And what I saw and how I came up with follow-up strategies and drip sequences. If anybody doesn't know what drip sequences, that's the automation that you put in place for constant communication with your sellers. I did all that for like these companies, and you see Vegas down here because I helped I used to, when they were doing it heavily, I would write direct mail packages for hotel and multifamily development companies in Vegas. So they were actually like building hotels and multifamily in Vegas. And so we would write these direct mail packages and send them off to these deep pocket investors throughout the world. So I did a lot of this drip sequence stuff, this follow-up, this automation stuff for these companies. And I realized that investors are coming to me, wholesalers are coming to me they needed help with it too, because most of them, and I'll get to this slide a little bit, most of them, they had the same issue. And that was they were chasing the hair on fire leads, the sellers now, and then forgetting about the 1, 2, 10, 100, 1,000 leads that were just flowing through the cracks and then getting lost somewhere. And those leads there's deals in that stack of leads that you're just leaving behind, that's just piling up and piling up. And they were just chasing them. They're just setting manual tasks. Their team was forgetting about it. And then they'd go off and sell with somebody else. So I realized there's ample opportunity here for these investors to pick up the scraps and gain a few extra deals from their existing leads. So the biggest thing I think I help with it is so this is an actual video. This is Scott Farrow. You can see this video on my website. When he came to me, he said he's just tied to his desk, making these follow-up calls, just chasing and chasing and chasing. So these are some of the results that he gained from it. But the bottom line is this. I think this is the biggest things that I help people do is relieve them from the constant chasing and help them work on the deals right now that they're doing, and let those leads that ghosted you, that are just told you they're not ready yet, that they're being non-responsive, let the marketing system do the work for you and keeping constant communication with them. So I don't know why I chose Will Ferrell. I like Will Ferrell, but that's kind of this. When I was wholesaling, I remember when I would be sitting in my car having to manually follow up with people. And then, by the way, we're going to talk about some of the tactics, and I do use manual follow up as well, but in very tactical ways. But being kind of like frustrated with not knowing what to say in my car while I'm going through my list, going through my CRM of all the old leads I have to contact, and just being frustrated with not knowing what to say, not knowing when to call them back, and just letting my emotions take course. I remember, you pull up Miss Sally here, and you have to call her back. You called her 2 weeks ago, but you feel like, I don't think this is a deal right now. Let me move her over to next month. Let me call her back next month. Really letting your emotions dictate when you follow up, which is a really bad move to do. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So there are two types. I can narrow down to two types of sellers. There's more, but there's two types of sellers that wholesalers are going to deal with. They're going to deal with the hair on fire sellers that they needed to sell yesterday, right? Those are the easy deals that you can tie up today. Those are what everybody's after. Okay. Then there are the tomorrow's sellers, right? They make up a huge portion of your leads. The ones that they start ghosting you, they just tell you you're not ready yet. They tell you your offer's too low. They tell you they're signing with someone else. All these little scenarios that dictate that they're going to be selling, not right now, but 3, 6, 4. We all know this. We all already know this, but this dictates that this makes up the majority of your leads right here. And this is these are the sellers that I want to capitalize on for you guys. So the question, I bring this up because I have some data to show you guys on how many touches or days it takes to convert a seller, with those tomorrow sellers. So you're looking at a dashboard of a CRM. This is specifically Investor Fuse. So this is an actual client of mine. We dug into his CRM. We looked at this is a reporting. I'll explain these numbers in a little bit. This is a reporting of the week of drip sequences for the week. So on the bottom here where it says 58. So for the entire duration of, I don't know, of it says last week, but just focus on this 58 number. That's on average the amount of time it takes for a seller to respond within his drip sequences, about 60 days. The next one, I want to show you this, which is a little more, this one is a little more impactful. Same guy, same client of mine. This deal closed, and this was about a $30,000 deal, net deal that he gained. This deal took 189 touches. Now, these are touches that we implemented into his CRM. These are touches of emails, text messaging, call attempts, voicemails left. This deal took 189 touches for it to develop, about a $30,000, a little less than 30,000, but we'll just round up and say $30,000 deal that he gained that he would have lost if he didn't have this marketing automation in place. And almost every CRM that we deal, and we deal with many CRMs, all of them have the systems that you can do this, right? There's only a handful, and that kind of really suck and blow, but most of you guys probably have CRMs that work, and we could talk about that in Q&A. So 189 touches, I think, is pretty impactful. I've seen 70 touches on average. I've seen 60, as low as 30, but it's usually at the higher. I usually see around 70. That's a number that I see consistently. 70 touches that takes for these deals to finally convert. So this is actually the client this is his dashboard. His name is Adam Whitney. Before he came to me, he didn't really use drips. I'm not too sure if he used them. He told me he told me that drips didn't work. That's why he came to me. And then now about 40% of his deal flow comes from the system we plugged in to his CRM, which was what you just viewed above this. So let's talk about the three little ways that baby steps that we implement to create this this automation, these drip sequences, this messaging. So we have what I call precision pathways, which is basically sequences. The messaging we use, so the magnetic messaging, and then our total reach automation, which is like basically being omnipresent. Hence our name OmniDrip. So, so precision pathways, which is basically the sequences. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this in a little bit, but how I look at it with any kind of company I go into, or any industry, I should say, any industry, because I've worked in other industries as well. First, I look at the 10,000-foot view and I determine, okay, what's the pathway from beginning to end? David, he deals with one particular gateway of somebody's pipeline, which is that transactional part, which is where a lot of deals get lost. I also look at the entire pathway because we want to see what are the missing opportunities there. So I have a gateway here. I'm going to show you this in a little bit. I'm going to explain this whole thing to show you how you would build out your own sequences. But this is Daniel, a client of mine, and the reason why I'm bringing him up, because once you start looking at these pathways, all the pathways that your seller takes, it starts turning, like I call chaos, into order, and start having a systematic way of following up. So Daniel, the reason why I bring him up is because Daniel, he's a really I love Daniel, but he's just impossible to reach. And he hit me up out of the blue after months from me trying to reach out to him to see how the drips were going. And he finally got back saying that he's kind of far removed from the business. I'm not saying that that's what OmniDrip does, but it helped him get to a point where, hey, he's far removed from it. He's picking up rentals with his business. His team is doing all the work for him, and he's far removed from it. So I believe we helped him create that automation in place for him to be removed from it. But the point of it is, these sequences, I'm trying to create, chaos, because that's what it usually is people just setting automatic, or people setting manual tasks to follow up. There's no order of things. There's no when you're going to follow up, how you're going to follow up, and setting up the process for you to follow up in a systematic way. So you can step away and it's more order. So here's kind of here's how it looked like on a table. So the way I do it is we set up automation, we set up effective messaging. It's system-based, and we also make you look like a trusted neighbor rather than the old way. I put down SpongeBob. My daughter's in a SpongeBob play, so I thought this was relevant timing, but the annoying pest. So this is chaos. That fire being in the kitchen of old Rusty Crab, whatever his name is. It's chaos. It's because it's inconsistent, it's ineffective, it's based off of luck. And what I mean by that is seller tells you, hey, I'm going to be selling in 3 months from now. Cool. You set a manual task to follow up in 3 months. Well, one of two things usually happen. One, they don't know you from Adam. Who the hell is this? I don't remember you. Or the worst case scenario is they sell to somebody else, which is usually what happens. So usually what I deal with in investors' old way of follow-up is it's entirely luck based. They hope that their message, their text message or their voicemail left or whatever it is lands at the right time at the right place. I remove all that and I make sure that we're marketing in a more systematic and valuable way. And I'm going to show you guys some of the messaging we used to bring value to your brand. So going back to our sequences, these are 5 of our 20 sequences I have here. So like I said, we look at the pipeline and we determine what are the different events that we can follow up in. So all the missing gaps, all the opportunities. So offer too low, fixing themselves, they tell you that. They tell you, hey, we're just going to fix the house ourselves, right? Missed appointment, that's an obvious one we should be taking advantage of. A missing gap there you should be having a sequence for. Booked appointment. I do this one. I make sure everybody does this. Some sort of process to pre-sell the appointment. Some sort of process that breaks barriers a little bit, right? Because when a seller is about to enter in an appointment or about to get a visit from you, about to get a phone call, whatever it is, there's hesitation, there's some skepticism. We want to try to lower that barrier a little bit. Can't do it 100%, but we can help with that. Deal closed. So I'm a big believer in collecting testimonials and getting referrals later down the road, and that could be done through some automation as well. Bare minimum, you should be doing some kind of manual process for this, where after you're done with the closing, and maybe David, I don't know, maybe you help people do this, get a video review from that seller, because this is going to be, it's again, it's like a machine. It's like where you're plugging sellers through the pipeline. At the end of it, you get a review and you pop that review back to the top of your marketing machine, because that reviews are going to help a ton when it comes to converting these leads. Okay, so no appointment, no offer landlord. So we do break up a lot of our sequences into landlord, vacant house, and owner occupant, because then as a copywriter, I can really leverage the copy of what we can say. A landlord has a different pain point than somebody has a vacant house, so I can leverage that. So we do break it up. So again, these are only 5. We have about 20. If you head over to, if you want to get that list, just I have some samples on my website right down there if you guys want to head over to there. Okay, so this pipeline. So how I look at it, put everything on a straight line here, is I look at it as valves. Like, we have to open up valves in each part of our business to allow the lead to go through. So the very first part is lead gen, which this is not we're not talking about lead gen here. We're talking about the follow-up with existing leads, but you got to open that gate up. And then as soon as they flow into it, the next quote sale you have to make is the appointment. You got to get them into an appointment. And that's where things can fall apart, right? The lead ghosts you, the lead says no, the lead says they're not ready yet. And so you have to, so there's opportunity there for you to create sequences to get them back into your appointment. The same goes from appointment to contract, getting them to the contract. Well, things can happen there. They say no to your offer because it's too low. They sign with someone else. So those are like opportunities for you to create these sequences to capture those people and bring them back into your pipeline, right? And then reviews and referrals. Again, that's like the asking, it's like, do you want fries with that question? Right? It's a simple question after 3 months of working with the person after buying their house, asking them if they know anybody that's selling. It's a really simple question. It's not something that's going to it's not a needle mover, but it's one of those things where, you put it into an automation, and after 50 contracts, maybe one actually does know a seller, and it's an extra lead into your pipeline, maybe an extra deal. So it's a no-brainer for me to at least put that in automation to ask them, hey, do you know anybody else that's looking to sell, right? Wes here. So this caught me off guard. I was wondering what this is. Wes here said he ROX'd his ROI was 100 times for his bit, increased it 100 times. I don't know if that's an exaggeration, but maybe it's 50, maybe it's 10. I don't know. But the point of it is that Wes here, I know the reason why I bring this up, I know that Wes is a solo entrepreneur. So he's solo. He doesn't have a team. And he uses these sequences to help really be a force multiplier. And we're going to talk about how to be a force multiplier, but really enable him to work on these leads that he has, and work on the sellers today while having the system work on those leads that are, just not ready yet. So that's what the sequences are going to help you do. Okay, so the next part of it, the next little baby step that we take for helping somebody automate their system is the messaging, the actual, what do we say in the copy? Because the big problem is everyone says, are you still interested in selling over and over? That's the typical mantra that you hear in an investor sequence. It's just, maybe they follow up every 3 weeks, 2 weeks, whatever the cadence is. And by the way, all our sequences have different cadences depending on the sequence. But they might follow up every 2 weeks saying, hey, are you still interested in selling? Which is just, it's an annoying pest. It's chasing. And I'm going back to this because I put here, I said, stop chasing, start attracting. And it's my opinion. It's not just my opinion, but sales Salespeople shouldn't be chasing. That's the job of the marketing department. The marketing department should be the ones, quote, chasing, but chasing in a very valuable and approachable way, more of an attraction marketing type of methodology. I'm going to show you some of the messaging that we use. So when you start chasing as a salesperson, asking, "Hey, are you still interested in selling?" over and over and over again, that question right here, are you still selling? Continuous asking of this question, it's self-serving. It doesn't bring any value to the person on your side. The point of marketing is to bring value as well. It's to ask these questions, but also bring value and bring up your credibility. And I'm going to talk about some ways that we do this. So some ways that we do this is, and I know there's a lot of text here, but I'm going to tell a story of how I figured this out. It's not, I didn't figure this out. This is copywriting 101. But I remember struggling as a wholesaler, and an old school investor. This is before I knew anything about copy. This is kind of what like launched me into this whole world of copy. He took me aside, this old school investor, and he told me, "Hey, sit down and write 100 different ways that you benefit a seller." Because we get caught as investors, wholesalers, we get caught into this, it's all about price, it's all about the offer. And we forget that we actually have a product and service for the marketplace. And we actually give value to the person on the other side. So I wrote down that list, and this isn't the list. I think I came up with like 50, or I don't even think I came up with 50. I don't remember the number, but the word cash offer doesn't really mean anything like just verbatim, face value. It doesn't mean anything. Really, it stems off into hundreds of ways that we're going to benefit the seller. So we save them from the embarrassment of selling. So the person might be behind in their mortgage, and they don't want their neighbors to know all their financial trouble. So putting a listing sign in the front of their house, it's just advertising that they're in trouble. Selling with all their stuff behind. Some people who have their parents are elderly, they're 80 years old, and they have too big of a house and they have a bunch of stuff in the house that they don't know what to do with. I remember selling my house and having a ton of stuff, and I just didn't know what to do with it. Right. So it's kind of relieving to have somebody come in and just, "Hey, you don't have to worry about it. I'll take care of it." So all these little things can be used as marketing messages. And I'm going to show you kind of how we do that. So here's a couple examples. I call them problem solution examples or benefit features examples. But every single one of our text messages, auto text messages that we set up, has at least one of these benefits or problems or features in which we can help a seller. So it's not just, hey, it's not chasing them, asking, "Hey, are you still interested in selling?" It's letting them know, "Hey, you don't need to clean up your house with our offer." By the way, these are old, by the way, so be careful using these. I don't use the word cash anymore for a lot of our messages. I remove them because those words are getting kind of flagged a little more often. So I remove the word cash from our whole system. But clean up your house is a benefit feature. Banks don't generally give out loans. That's the problem, right? But you can go to us, which we're hassle-free cash buyers. We handle everything for you, and we pay for closing costs. So that's kind of like twofold type of feature or benefit. So these all these little benefits and features you can incorporate into your marketing to create some messaging that's not just that pest that just annoying, saying, "Are you still interested in selling?" over and over again. So some other copy tactics. I'm going to show you some of this in a little bit, but stories. I use emails. I use stories in emails quite frequently. So if you go to if you type in Google right now and you go to like if you say "struggling selling my house" Reddit, you're going to get stories, real life stories from people who are really, you're going to get all kinds of stories about, they open house and somebody left feces all over the walls, and all these crazy, disgusting stories that are just stories you can leverage to put in your emails. And that's where I think stories work really well in our emails. Humor messages, we use a lot of humor messages to bring people back. Problem pain, you kind of saw that already, and some value-driven messages. I'm going to show you what that means in a little bit. So some value examples. Actually, looks like I didn't finish this off, but I do sometimes tips. So I'll kind of make up a tip right here. So if we have an offer too low or offer decline fixing themselves sequence, and that's designed obviously, for a seller that tells you, hey, your offer's too low, we're just going to fix the house ourselves. So I'm going to go ahead and put a tips, what I call a tips campaign in that sequence, where I'm actually just giving them a tip saying, hey, letting you know that you should let your insurance know that you're fixing the house and blah blah blah, or hey, make sure you remove any, make sure your contractor has insurance, whatever, so it's a tips campaign giving. I'll let them know about the top 5 rehab items that give you the most bang for your buck, things of that nature. So that's a tips campaign. We do that for probate. We might do this for some other sequences as well. Articles. So we make sure that we're driving people back to an article. So depending on the sequence, so they're all different. But so this is an actual text message that might come right after like an introductory text message. It might, and it says, hey, I forgot to mention we have lots of articles with info on what repairs are best for selling. So check it out here, and then we'll link the article. I'm going to explain why I do that, why we get people back into our website and sort of this whole omnipresence tactic or strategy, I should say. Reviews. If you have reviews, we're going to exploit that. We're going to not exploit it. We're going to leverage that. So we're making sure that we're bringing social proof into it. So this is an example of value. Value comes in all kinds of ways. It comes through entertainment. And I have a humor message that I'm going to show you in a little bit. It comes through bringing them back into an article for some actual information. It comes from social proof, showing them and satisfying their needs to make sure that you're legitimate by having real seller reviews in place. Okay, so here's an example of a humor message. I'll let you guys read it while I take a sip of water. But this is we have multiple ways of multiple humors, but this is an actual text message we'll send out. This is one example. We have probably tens of them, of different ones, for different varieties and variations of these things. But the whole point of this one is to, if they're just gone missing, they radio silence for months and just we don't know what happened. For example, here's a good sequence. When you send a contract for them to sign and they don't respond, they just went radio silence. Well, I'm going to plug them into our contract sign, waiting to hear back sequence. And this might be this or a variation of it. We have multiple variations. Might be embedded in it, and this gets sent out, and sometimes it gets an LOL back, which is fine. Like getting a response back to start the engagement process again. Get them back engaged because we want to know what happened, right? So that's an example of a humor message. This is Mitchell Martin, client of mine a while back, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is the effect of having messaging that's more quality, I guess you can say. It's more tailored to the seller. Okay, the messaging of "Are you still interested in selling?" over and over again. It's all the arrows are pointed at you as the wholesaler. It's not pointed at them. So this is the effect of what that type of marketing does. What our system does is, he says here, and I have it underlined in red, that 6 months later, after 12 calls and voice messages left and 13 text messages, which came from our system, they responded out of the blue, okay, I'm ready to sell. This was 6 months later. So this is the type of system that I'm trying to get people to implement, so that it's, this deal that came 6 months later, it's working in the background. The system, I should say, is working in the background for them. So so the next part, and this is the final piece of the puzzle here, it's omnipresence or total reach automation. We want to make sure that we're using everything at your disposal to follow up with them. And the big reason, there's a few reasons why. One is the most important, it's gonna add credibility and trust, right? The problem I see with a lot of investors is that their drip sequences are just maybe a 5-part text message only sequence. Well, we implement, I'm going to show you everything we use. A lot of the CRMs you have the capability of using a lot more mediums at your disposal. And you should be using that because one, it adds impact. One, it makes it look like you're everywhere. And then again, it adds credibility and trust because there's in human psychology, there's this effect in the buying process that the more often they see you, they actually raise, whether or not you're a trustworthy person doesn't matter, but the more they see you, the more the trust or their trust level raises with you. I don't know the term with it, but psychology's measured this, and it shows that the more often that you see the ads in place, the more often the more they trust you and believe you. So I'm trying to create that total reach automate, that omnipresence, I guess you can say. And so how we do that is we use several different, here's a list of 7. So we use follow-up mail. So I'm going to show you one of our direct mail pieces, one of our older ones, but we use actual follow-up mail. And this is a mail that says, hey, we want to buy your house. This is more tailored towards the sequence that they're in. Tasks to call, manual call. I'm still a believer in that. We're still putting notifications for your team or you to make that follow-up call. We're sending out notifications for personal Loom videos. Okay, so not a lot of people are doing this, but I think it's so easy to do, adds a huge amount of impact to your business. So imagine this. So a seller ghosts you for whatever reason. Let's just say that they missed an appointment with you. They missed an appointment with you, and you want to get them back into an appointment, right? So you can keep texting them. Then you can also text them a video, or text them and email them a video of a Loom video from you. And this is really easy to do. So you'd get a task, maybe in your inbox or your phone. It says, hey, send a Loom video to this lead right here, XYZ Main Street. You pull up your phone, or you can do it on your desktop. It's really easy to do. I do this in my business. And you hit the record button, take a 2-minute video, and then send it off to the seller. It's the same work as doing a manual task, sort of. Maybe it takes a little longer to do a video, but it has far more impact for you to send a personal Loom video out to the person. Okay. Obviously, auto text message, we add that in place. Website. So we don't add a website, but we leverage your website, right? We want to bring people back into your website. So again, if you have reviews, we're sending traffic back to the website. So that's actually 2 or 3 touches if you think about it. Going back to what I said about 189 touches for that deal. I'm trying to rep touches here, right? So if you send a text message that drives them back to an article, right? That's 2 touches right there. They saw the text message, and now they're on now they're in your website. And then if you have a little more advanced marketing, which is not really advanced, it's easy to set up. You can do Facebook retarget, or not just Facebook, but retargeting ads. Now you have an infinite amount of touches. Now they're embedded in your universe where you're setting all this messaging from every angle. Okay, so articles already talked about, reviews again, sending them back to reviews. So this is the effect I'm trying to achieve. When it comes to this, I'm trying to make it a force multiplier. Okay, so this is Yancey Foresight, a client of mine. This is what he said about it, and I thought it was fitting good timing on being a force multiplier, because he's a solo entrepreneur, meaning he doesn't have a team. I don't know if he has a team today, but back then he didn't have a team. So he's usually utilizing this to be a force multiplier, to be like these little salespeople for him that are going out marketing for him. So he's not chasing. Again, I'm trying to eliminate the whole chasing game for you guys. Okay. So hitting them from all angles. This is another look at a dashboard, somebody's dashboard, a deal pulled out, and you're looking at the activity where this seller ghosted. This is Wes. So this is Wes Brown again. I think I already posted up a review from him, but seller ghosted him and it was a really good seller, motivated seller, but ghosted out of nowhere. Then out of the blue, then he puts her into a sequence. It's working for him in the background, and then out of the blue, she emails him. If you read the messaging right here, she emailed him out of the blue, and he's sending email. He's trying to make call attempts. He's dropping voicemails. He's sending mail, etc. So all the angles he's working until they're finally ready to sell. So this is an example of one of my postcards that we send out. We don't use the same copy, just FYI, this is old copy. We've refined it. I've refined it but the whole point of this postcard is for our form filled sequence. So this is a seller that, they fill out a form, whether it's a PPL, you bought a lead from a vendor, a digital lead from a vendor, or they filled out your organic form, whatever it is. And they fill out a form, but then you can't get a hold of them. And, so this goes out, I believe this goes out like 30 days out, where, I want to know what happened, right? So it's like the whole point of this is I want to grab their attention and then get them to read. And then for them to remember, hey, you filled out our form and you never responded back, So it's this omnipresence, this multiple angles. Whether or not they respond to this, it doesn't actually really matter, to be honest. Like, so people will ask me, well, what about emails? I don't get a lot of response from emails. I still suggest people use emails as a form of marketing because you don't know, they'll still read the emails or they'll see it in your inbox, and it still creates that omnipresence. It's still bringing you up over and over again, regardless if they respond then and there to the email. Because I've seen situations where we'll look back to see, okay, what exactly did she respond to? And the last message might have been an email. The last message that we sent out, that our system sent out, was an email, but she called back. So we don't know if it was the email, if it was the card, whatever it was that activated their that gave them a reason to call today. We don't really know, but all this stacks on the credibility, the proof, and the trust, so that when they are ready, you're the trusted person to call. So this is a thank you card. I'm a big believer in sending out thank you cards. This is a form of a greeting letter or a greeting card. And I do this early on. If somebody fills out a form, send out a thank you card. If they sign a contract, we send out a thank you card, right? We want to thank you. It has a lot of impact when they see it. It's like, because nobody's doing this. Nobody's thanking them for their time. So I do this in my business. I've done it for years. It has a lot of impact. A lot of people appreciate this kind of small, and it's cheap to do, this small effort. So again, so another guy using the system, using the multi-angle, he's a one-man show, and enabled him to use these automatic drips. He was a one-man show, but today he has a team that he leverages, but he still uses our drips in his business. And I don't only serve solo entrepreneurs or solo business owners. We also serve guys that have a big team. Brandon Hood's one of them. He has a large team out in Florida, and they use our drips every day. So this is what it all looks like when we plug in our sequence, our system into your CRM. There's 20 plus sequences. There's about 40 different direct mail pieces. You saw two of them. 100, almost 200 tasks. And I kind of touched based on the different tasks. The tasks are the manual calls, but we also have voicemail scripts. We have instructions for Loom videos. We have like little tactics and hang up tactics that we use. 150 different emails. We plug in some articles into your website. We make sure we plug in your reviews. If you have any, we plug them into the emails and the text messaging. And then, of course, the auto text messages as well. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. I kind of blasted through there. But if anybody has any questions, and I think there's some questions,
we've got a couple in the chat here. Whoop. I'll go ahead and read them out for you. Yeah. So man, first off, ton of good stuff there. I love the force multiplier. like phrase. That might be the most apt thing that I've ever heard, right? Because it was, I remember when I was the solo guy or at a very, very small team, there are so many things, Paul, that we know as wholesalers we should be doing, right? We should be skip tracing our return mail, doing all these million little things, but there's just not enough time in the day,
Mm.
right? So I love this idea of what you've come up with of the automations so that you can just literally just set it and forget it. And it's like, a little soldier working in the background for you, reviving these leads and regenerating them. So I think it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, so a couple questions here. Like how often does the copy change? So I guess maybe you answered that kind of with, with all of the different kind of sequences, but maybe you could
Um,
talk about that.
yeah, so there's no like set regular. I mean, we try to look at it regularly. What does regular mean? It might be monthly. We try to look at it regularly to see if there's any kind of optimization that I can make. So yeah, the drip sequences are great for automation, and I use them in OmniDrip. I set it up for other businesses outside of just the investor model. The big problem with it is that sometimes the material is old, so and you need to update it. And so often do we change it? It's just whenever I feel that something needs to be optimized or changed or updated. Um, do you provide guidance, advice on how to maximize return? Was the question from Jeff. Yeah, I mean, so for my clients, yeah, I'm not too sure in what direction you're coming at with that, Jeff, but with my clients, afterwards I make sure that there's support, meaning the support comes from me. We actually just like after we put this system into this semi-custom system into their CRM, I'll get on a call with their team so so they understand it fully, and I have cheat sheet for them to follow, so they know exactly where to drop these leads into, these fresh leads. And then we'll do some live lead dropping. Meaning we'll look at some leads. They tell me a little bit of that lead, and we'll go, okay, that's a fit for this sequence right here. And I also have other videos on, and I'm actually improving that on my end, like how to do. I don't have this yet, but I will be. How to improve leaving a voicemail, like how to the tonality and things like that, which is important. So and I have some other videos on how to little tactics and on optimizing as much as you can. Recommend a CRM. Yeah, I mean I've been in about 20 different CRMs. Um, the ones I'd say like the I don't want to drop. I'll tell you what the top three are in my
Okay.
opinion, and this is only based off of drip sequences, not based off of other things like dialers and how the dashboard looks, right? So just off of like the automation, Resimply is good now. They've improved dramatically. Investor Fuse is also good, and then RA Black Book or Go High Level is also another one. I mentioned RA Black Book. Go High Level is another one for the drips as well. And what I'm looking for with the CRM is I'm looking to make sure one they can send task notifications. Believe it or not, there are some sophisticated and very expensive CRMs out there. One starts with an S. Oh, anyway, I'm not gonna, but that it's very expensive CRM. Okay, that doesn't even have the capability to send out notifications or tasks. Okay, so which is like that's like such a basic level part of following up is you need to make manual calls. Okay, so a lot of times a lot of Podio users, they don't have that, but a developer can add that easily. Um, Task notifications, time delays or cadences. I want minute by minute time delays. That's ideally what I want. Meaning, I send out an automated text, then a minute later another one gets sent out because I'm trying to. I didn't really dive into this much, but a lot of times I'm trying to make it look very personalized. So I might send a typo. I might do a deliberate typo, and then 1 minute later I'll correct that. An auto message will go out with the correction. Or like you saw one message in my slide deck, it was, hey, forgot to mention, go here to this article at XYZ, whatever it is. That one might go a minute after as well, or 5 minutes after to make it look a lot more personable. So I'm looking for minute to minute time delays. I'm also looking for it's called webhooks. Webhook. This enables me to send direct mail. It's not direct mail blasting. A lot of people get this confused. It's like, oh, do you load up the list? How do you load up the list and all that? No, it's literally it's an amazing concept. But you load up a seller into a sequence. That seller is trucking through the sequence. You know, they're landing on different steps, all these automation steps, and then one of those steps is what's called a webhook. And that webhook will say it that webhook will talk to the print house and say, hey, send this one postcard to this one seller right now. And it'll print it off just for that one lead and send off the mailer. So I think it's a awesome concept to do this on-demand one-off printing. So I want to make sure the CRM has that also. I think that's about, I mean, those three things. There might be other ones, but that's what I usually recommend. Do you need approval to send text email before we send this to prospects? Yeah, I mean, that's approval comes from they fill out a form and you have that box. That today, this is like you can't even send text without having this anymore with the whole A2P 10 DLC approval. To get approved, I'm not an expert at this, by the way. We don't do this. Okay. So usually the CRMs help you do this, but to get approved, they actually, I don't know if it's somebody that does it, they actually look at your website and to make sure you have that, hey, you have that box that says, hey, you're opting into a text message marketing list, right? So yeah, that you would need, you would need approval to send text and email. That's always been the rule actually for years. Actually, you need to actually get permission to send that stuff. So yeah, I don't see any other questions here. If anybody wants to chime in, they can. But that's um, but that's it in a nutshell, guys. I know I kind of breezed through that, but it's a lot to cover, and I had to really focus in on the basics, which is the sequences, having multiple sequences, the messaging, where you're dialing into, or you're focusing on the problems, you're focusing on stories, you're focusing on the benefits, value, etc. And then using all the mediums at your disposal: mail, text, email, tasks, etc. So.
Wow. Well, guys, if you have any questions, do the raise your hand thing or just go ahead and shout it out and we'll get to everybody. But Paul, I think this is amazing, dude. I mean, this is again one of those things that everybody knew they should set up in their CRM, but you're out doing deals, right? You're fielding all the hot leads that come in, and just to have the ability to, set something or have somebody set this up, and not just set it up just to get it set up, but somebody that's got copywriting experience and the ability to, craft it in a way that's going to draw them to, again, like you said, want to chase you. I think that's absolutely amazing, because marketing's getting expensive, right? Like it's getting very, very expensive to send direct mail and do PPC and PPL and texting and, and all of the different things. So,
That's a really good point. So I don't put this as part of my slide deck because it gets a little more, then I all of a sudden have an hour-long presentation, but a lead costs you, a lead's very expensive, and it can cost you $150 for that call to $300, even more. There's some PPL providers that charge a lot more than that. So lead generation is expensive. It always has been expensive. Follow-up, though, is the cheapest way to market, if you think about it, because you've already filtered. The reason why lead generation is expensive, because you're blanketing out your dollar. And then when you follow up, you have now a very narrow list to follow up with. And I've calculated this out where we look at a lead that gets put into the system, and maybe they get 3 different direct mail pieces. They get a certain amount of calls and texts and stuff like that. You're comparing to a new lead, which can cost you at a low end of $100, or say, that lead to follow up with that lead might cost you a couple bucks every single month, if that. So it's, to not do this, it's like it's a no-brainer to follow up with people, to create a system. You don't have to use my system. I mean, even though it's probably the better one out there, but having some sort of way to follow up consistently using even mail. I mean, I don't know why people don't follow up with mail. It's actually, if you send existing lead 3 pieces of mail in their lifetime that they're in your system, that's at the most maybe $10. to market that lead. I mean, it's no brainer to follow up and pay a little bit of extra money and effort to do this stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? These are people that have already raised their hand and said, "Yes, I want to sell." The problem becomes you call them back the next day and they ghost you. And but having something like this, it just keeps you in front of their face constantly, and then you follow up with some branded or some direct mail that's going to remind them. They may not be ready today, but when they are, you're going to be the person that they trust because you're the person who's been in front of them. Um, of the most. So I again think it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, I had a couple questions written down here. One was a CRM. I'm sure there are some that are easier to work with than others, right?
yeah,
But
Michael Pinter had upsell in here. I don't know. I know Michael Pinter.
hey, Michael,
I
I'll
don't
tell
know
you.
if you upsell, but somebody raised their hand.
Yeah, thank you. I just quick question. I just quickly Googled one of the CRMs you mentioned, and it says on their website like they have drip campaign. So basically, you would just sync up through that CRM and do the drip campaign for them, like through the CRM.
Yeah, so if you use that one that and I mean every CRM has their versions and has maybe their way of doing drip campaigns. So yeah, if they're saying that, yeah, that means what would happen is this. You would have that CRM in place. You're a member, and we have access to it. We'd go in. My team would actually go in, and we actually I give you a signed NDA and letting you know we're not going to be going in your leads or anything like that. We don't even. There's no reason for us to go into your leads. In fact, when we test out this system, when we test out because we test it out afterwards, we make sure that we're getting the text messaging and email and stuff like that. We ask you to create a test lead for us. We won't do it for you because there's no reason for us to be in your lead database. And so we'll go in there and we'll create, and it's semi-custom to you, the messaging, because there's investors that are 100% local, or they have a national feel, or they might want to leverage their license. So we make sure that the messaging matches the different profiles that you have. You might buy with tenants in the house, or you might not pay for all closing costs, whatever it is. We make sure that the messaging matches it, and then we implant that into your CRM and into the drip campaign. They all call it different things, but drip campaign, drip sequences, flows, whatever they call it, we'll put it in.
Nice. And you must have to adjust like some of the tagging, right? Because I know you had some unique tags.
It's not, yeah. So some CRMs are tag based, which is really nice. Go High Level is tag based. So what that means is, you can tag the tag is like a label. You put a label on a lead, and that label can do several things. One, it gives you information about it, but then it also can trigger a sequence for you. So when you're triggering a sequence for a seller, it can be manual, which is, I mean, it's always going to be manual. There's only one place that's going to be automatic, and that's when a lead flows into your CRM from a web form, okay, or from a PPL. It just flows in, and that triggers an automatic sequence. We don't really do that unless it's easy for your like Go High Level is really easy. It's tag based. So as soon as that tag shows up, it triggers the sequence. I don't know if I probably went too much into tech jargon there, but I don't know if I confused anybody but yeah, that's basically you have tag system, manual based system for CRMs. Michael Pinter said upsell. He was talking about the asking of the French fries. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
That's exactly it. It's really, you're selling something when you close a deal. You're selling something else. You're trying to get a review, testimonial, and then you're also trying to get a referral. So, yep, absolutely, it's upsell.
Kind of maybe as the last question, or unless somebody has something else, can you guys work with other industries like coaches and even my company, REI Closings? Like, I imagine you can craft this stuff for the plumber and the electrician and the candlestick maker.
Yeah, I'll personally do it. It's more custom, like so. I would personally be doing it, or I have a copywriter that I'm training, building more of an agency model, and they would help as well. But I don't have like a set like this Omni Drip. I have a set system. It's scalable. We have software that creates all the messaging, and boom, we put it. I have a team that installs it and knows exactly what to do. For you, it's more of like I'd step in, and we look at all the I look at all the missing opportunities and everything that we can do. I'd look at what you offer, what your offering is, what your product and services are, and how can we get the lowest hanging. I mean, I have like a checklist of what I go through. Like, okay, what am I looking for? Okay, you have this flow, this will work better. Yeah, I can do it. It's just a little more intensive.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Well, cool. Paul, what's the best way for them to, I guess, book a call with you or get more information or move forward? Because I know, I mean, I can tell definitely from the questions, people are interested in this.
Yeah, if you guys head to my website, riomnidrip.com, you can opt in. There's a big red button, opt in there. Then you're going to get, to quote Michael, you're going to upsell that asks to book a call if you want to. It's not, you're not really buying, you're not, the upsell, it's all free stuff, meaning you opt in, you're going to get some free samples from me. And then there's going to be an ask if you want to book a call with me. I don't put it on here, but just, FYI, because of it's manually intensive, meaning like we have a team that makes all this stuff, and it takes hours for us to actually it's not like selling a course where 1,000 people can come in anytime and boom, 1,000 people get served. We can only serve 10 people per month just because of the intensiveness of how many hours it takes us to implement this stuff. So
all right, guys, any other questions before we bring it to a close here? Oh man, that was amazing stuff. I love it. It's something in the background that we all know we should be doing, but chances are nobody on this call has done it even effectively, and certainly not to any kind of high level where it's generating results like this. So man, I appreciate you coming on, and yeah, I'd love to talk to you about having something set up for us too.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. I appreciate being on here. Yeah, and if you want me to stay on, let me know. Other than that, if everybody has any questions, you can also email me at paul@reiomnidrip. In fact, I'll just put it right here in the chat. You guys can also email me, but best way to get a sense of what I deliver, just opt in and get those samples. So
cool. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming in and spending the middle of your day here. I know you're all busy, so but this is important stuff, and the things that really make your business go along. We all talk about being a king closer is closing 1 out of 10 people, but what do you do with the other 9? What do you do with the other 9 that slip through the cracks, right? You need to be doing some type of marketing to them so you can get sort of that second bite at the apple. So again, Paul, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. This was amazing.
thank you.
You guys have a great day.